The Philadelphia Eagles had a very busy offseason as they traded for former Titans receiver A.J. Brown and acquired a future first-round pick from the New Orleans Saints, among many other moves. So far, so good, as they're 6-0 heading into their Week 7 bye. They have accomplished the rare feat of getting the team better while still getting better in the future, as A.J. Brown is only 25 years old. And despite being 6-0, they have faced their fair share of criticism, such as they haven't played anybody and that they are the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers 2 years later. And for anyone that doesn't remember the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers, they started out 11-0, then proceeded to get beat by double digits in a home playoff game by the Cleveland Browns. But the Eagles are not only good, they're a juggernaut, and in today's video, we are going to break down why they are a juggernaut, why they are the current NFC favorite, and why I think they will, at minimum, represent the NFC in the Super Bowl in February. And even in the scenario they don't win a playoff game or collapse, their future is insanely bright, and there is a lot to dive into, and without further ado, let's begin. And we are starting today's video by discussing one of the many things that makes the Eagles not just a good team, but a damn good team. As simple as this sounds, they run the football well. They have ran for over 130 yards as a team in all of their games but one, and the only game they didn't run for over 130 yards was against the Washington Commanders back in Week 3, and in that game, quarterback Jalen threw for 340 yards and had 3 passing touchdowns. The Eagles are an insanely frustrating team to play because their game plan is to run the ball, and run the ball some more. They have the most rushing attempts by any team by a wide margin, as they have ran the ball 225 times in 6 games for an average of 37.5 times per game. Miles Sanders is well on his way to his first 1,000-yard rushing season, assuming he stays healthy, and Jalen is on his way to his second consecutive season with double-digit rushing touchdowns. And when game planning against the Eagles, yes, they run the ball a lot, but that doesn't mean they can't throw the ball. And that's one of many reasons why they are 6-0. They balance the game plan well, and by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, if your team is still standing in the ring taking punches, that's when they really want to run downhill and let that big, nasty offensive line, led by Jason Kelce, get after you. Jalen only has 6 passing touchdowns on the year and actually ranks 17th in passing touchdowns as I record this video. Jimmy G, a 37-year-old Matt Ryan, and Tua, despite missing some time, all have more passing touchdowns than Jalen. But Jalen is 8th in the NFL in passing yards despite being 17th in passing attempts, meaning they move the ball very well through the air between the 20s, and when they get down in the red zone, they are one of the most difficult teams in the league to stop because of how many guys there are to account for. In one offense, you have to count for Jalen who is an insanely good dual-threat player, Dallas Goedert, a really good tight end, A.J. Brown, who is having a career year, and a former Heisman-winning receiver in Devontae Smith. And oh yeah, one of, if not the best offensive lines in all of football. In a lot of ways, once you get down to the red zone against this team, you are picking 1 or 2 of these to truly keen in on and stop, and hoping they don't exploit what you did not prepare for. They have the second most red zone touchdowns in 2022, behind only the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs, and their offense has put up the 3rd most points in the league through 6 weeks, behind only the Chiefs and Bills. And another thing that greatly benefits the Eagles and their offense with how efficient they move the ball is the time of possession. If you've watched any videos on the channel before, time of possession is such a critical stat to team success, and oftentimes if a team has the ball for 35 or more minutes out of 60, they are more than likely going to win those games. Teams fatigue over the course of the game, and sometimes it carries into the next week as well. But Philadelphia in 5 of 6 games has held the ball for more than 30 minutes, meaning they won the time of possession battle, and obviously given they are 6-0, they won the game too. And in 4 of their 6 wins, they've held the ball for more than 34 minutes out of 60, meaning their defense has been on the field a hell of a lot less than other contending NFC team defenses have. And if you're wondering why this is brought up and why this is critical, the Eagles have dominated the time of possession, keeping their defense fresh and off the field. In weeks 4 through 6 specifically, they've held the ball for over 34 minutes in each of the last 3 games. And if it was even for all 17 games, those extra 4 minutes that the defense would be on the field, multiplied by 17 for each game they play, would add up to an entire game they did not play because of the time of possession saved by the offense. So the offense running the ball as effectively as they have helps the defense in gigantic ways, because over the course of the season, those boys in the trenches are thankful they aren't taking any more beatings and hits than they have to because of how tolling on the body it is. And not only this, but the Eagles' pass rush and defensive line is deep. So when we're into the deep part of the season, in week 16, 17, and 18, and other teams are feeling fatigued and worn down, I'm not saying the Eagles won't be, but saving 4 or 5 minutes per game, and in the Jags game when the Eagles held the ball for 39 minutes, it will help the defense out tremendously. And this is one reason why I think the Eagles are going to be heavy contenders when January rolls around. The Eagles have a Week 7 bye week, and their ensuing games after are home against the Steelers, at the Texans, home against the Commanders, and at Indy, all of which are winnable, and in the Commanders' case, a team they already beat, and by double digits at that. Thinking out loud when looking at this, a 10-0 start isn't guaranteed by any means, but it's certainly reasonable, and 10 wins will be enough for, at minimum, a wild card spot in the postseason. If they keep running the football, and as long as they don't lose the turnover battle, which they've been very good at this year, they're going to more than likely win 13 if not 14 games. Because no team is going to go in and truly stop the run for all 4 quarters, and even if they do, like one team did this year, Jalen Hurts can and will throw the ball for over 300 yards and win the game through the air. I also would like to say something regarding the defense. They're not just good because the offense has helped them out in a lot of ways. They are a very good unit that just happens to have an offense that benefits them by having a very high time of possession. They have forced the most turnovers out of any defense in the NFL with 14 in 6 games, most notably with 3 against the Vikings, in which they forced quarterback Kirk Cousins to throw 3 interceptions, and in Week 6 when they forced Cooper Rush to throw 3 interceptions. What's particularly impressive for the defense with this is these teams combined, the Vikings and Cowboys, have a 9-3 combined record. The Vikings have won 4 straight since getting their asses handed to them at the Link back in Week 2, and the then 4-1 Cowboys couldn't get anything going in the first half against the Eagles last Sunday night, and at a point, were down 20-0. The secondary has been unreal, led by Darius Slay and James Bradbury, and opposing quarterbacks have thrown 7 touchdowns in 6 games to 9 interceptions. They've given up the 5th fewest yards per play with 4.7 and the 6th fewest passing yards. When you think of the Philadelphia Eagles in 2022, truly, what is their weakness? They have very few, and there's a reason they're 6-0. They've given up more than 21 points just once, and that was back in Week 1 against the Lions, a team who had the most points scored in the NFL in the first 4 weeks of this season. And keep in mind the Eagles won the game, but generally offenses have the advantage in the first half of the season because they can bring any wrinkle out and fully unleash it, and the defense has nothing to base it off of, especially in Week 1. Likewise, I don't think it should come as a surprise, the Eagles' highest scoring game of their season was against Detroit as well. But in the 5 games since, the most points they've given up in a game was 21 to Jacksonville, in which Jalen Hurts had a pick 6, and the Eagles were down 14-0 in the first quarter, and proceeded to outscore the Jags 29-7 the rest of the game. There's a lot of people that say, well, it was against the Jags, and they haven't played anybody, and they haven't faced any adversity yet. But they haven't had to because they are, for the most part, thoroughly beating teams, and even when they were down double digits, they completely dominated the remaining 3 quarters. As I was recording this, the 49ers made a monumental trade for now former Panthers offensive weapon Christian McCaffrey, and I bring this up because I think these teams will meet at some point. Entering Week 7, I do think the NFC Championship game right now would be the 49ers meeting with the Eagles at the Link. I do believe we will have 3 playoff teams from the NFC East, and while the Vikings are 5-1, guys, we saw it in Week 2, and as a Vikings fan myself, I can tell you they do not have the horses to keep up with the Eagles, whether it be through the passing game or trying to stop the run. The Packers are a mess, and I thought at one point they would trade for DJ Moore, but it appears he will not be moved, so I don't worry about them, which leaves us with Tampa from the NFC South. Their interior offensive line is a mess with rookie Luke Gadecki and center Robert Hainsley, and it's no coincidence they lost to the Steelers last week, despite them having their top 3 corners out, Minkah Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt also out. They have their own problems at the moment, so thinking out loud with a 10-0 start very much in the cards for the Philadelphia Eagles, I absolutely love their chances of getting to the Super Bowl this year. A healthy 49ers team with Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle would frighten opponents, and it certainly would not be easy for any opposing defense to stop these guys. But the Eagles have an elite offense of their own. Jalen Hurts could very easily have 35-plus total touchdowns this year, as he has 16 in 6 games. And when the Link gets rocking in January, and with a bruising offensive line that kicks ass and takes names later, I wouldn't want to play the Philadelphia Eagles when it matters most. And that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it would mean the world. And please subscribe to the Madden YouTube channel, for which the link is in the description. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.